Fire and Fabrications, the US 2020 election.
Hello everyone, so I thought I'd do another quick video on the unfolding fascist dystopian hellscape that is the US election. So the main news, I suppose, was the sad passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg from complications from cancer. She was a tireless advocate and fighter for women's rights and for voting rights, and was a sort of liberal icon of their Supreme Court. And of course this has now resulted in a fight between the Senate, led by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and Democrats, because obviously Mitch McConnell blocked in 2016 Obama's nomination of a Supreme Court judge when there were 269 days still to go to the election. And of course now they've done a complete 180 and there are only 40-something days to go to the election, and they're going to try and rush another conservative right-wing judge onto that court, with implications that will last for decades for legislation. And this is just who the Republican Party is. They are shameless, lying hypocrites. And if you didn't know that and you're an American, you've been in a cave for the last 25 years. Or you just don't care and you love the hypocrisy. You know, that's just how it is. These people, they're cartoonishly evil. They really are. I mean, if Skeletor or Mumra tried to join the Republican Party, I don't think they'd get in. They would be thought of as not nasty enough. You know, they'd be deemed to be sort of sandal-wearing liberals. As far as I know, Mumra did wear sandals, so I think that might be correct. But I have to check that. Obviously, if you're under 30, you won't know what Skeleton or Mumra is, probably. But it's a reference for people born in the early 80s there. You know, the best time. And yeah, that's just who this party is. They're really hideous. And they could overturn, with a Supreme Court majority like that, they could overturn the Roe versus Wade ruling that gives women access to abortions. And this is their ultimate plan, really. You know, giving women power over their reproductive rights empowered women, and the Republican Party wants to depower women, and it could also affect voting rights, environmental rights and justice, and the implications could be enormous. We need the US on our side to fight global warming, to fight climate change. It is the second largest polluter in the world. China is first, the US is second. But China's still in the Paris Climate Accords, whereas the US pulled out. Other countries that are not part of the Accords, there's only a few, but I think Uruguay, because the Accords didn't go far enough, and Syria are not part of it because they're in the middle of a civil war. So I think that's understandable. But the US is where we need leadership on climate change, and with this Supreme Court packed with conservative, crazy right-wing judges, we're not going to get anywhere on it. So it does have implications for the rest of the world, as well as terrible implications for women in the US. And that's just the reality. Donald Trump clearly knew the risks from coronavirus, as is now clear from the Bob Woodward tapes, where he admits that this is a serious virus and a threat to the US. But he seems to have reverted back to type, and here he is at a rally a few days ago, downplaying the risks again.
In some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows? You take your hat off to the young, because they have a hell of an immune system. But it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing thing.
So it does puzzle me. If the virus affects virtually nobody, then why are some of the people at his rally wearing masks? Well, interestingly, most of the people at that rally weren't wearing masks, but the Trump staff specifically told people in the crowds that if you're standing in the crowd behind Trump, where the camera's going to be filming, you have to wear a mask. Everywhere else, it's optional. You know, they don't care about people's health in the middle of this pandemic. They're bothered about the PR of it. How does it look, you know? And yeah, these people are just pawns to them. They're just political pawns. And unfortunately, the US has reached a critical mass of stupid. And these people are being used. He doesn't care about their health, whether they'll get the virus at these rallies. He cares about massaging his own ego. And that's why Joe Biden is not holding these rallies. And when you see Joe Biden, I've rarely seen him not wearing a mask. He's being responsible. Trump is not. Trump, I think I've seen him once wear a mask. And he has these rallies where the majority of people are not wearing them. He's even had one of his own supporters, former former Republican Senator Herman Cain, who caught coronavirus and died. And he was at a Trump rally without a mask. Now, he may or may not have caught it there, who knows? But he's gone now. And Donald Trump doesn't care about these supporters, whether they live or die. He cares about himself and himself only. That's the truth. So with Trump's rallies continuing, mostly with people not wearing masks and not social distancing, it seems the Trump movement has changed from a personality cult to a death cult. I mean, it really is kind of Jim Jones, People's Temple style at the moment. That's how crazy it's gone. You know, you struggle to think of anything he could do that could dissuade some of his voters from still voting for him. You know, if he stood in the Oval Office and strangled a puppy, I mean, you know some of his supporters would defend it. Well, you know, that dog, I think, was going to grow up and it'd probably be a bad dog, and, you know, Trump would have known that, so I think he did the right thing. You know some people would be like that, you know, and that's just the unfortunate truth. These people are so far down the rabbit hole now. They can't back up out of it, you know. They're going down with the ship, and I hope he's going down as well in November, but there's no guarantee. It's far too close for comfort. One thing that I think the US has to come to terms with is that the far right is a growing problem in the US, and specifically the violence of the far right. There was a report released earlier this year by the Center for International and Strategic Studies that showed that the majority of terrorism in the US comes from the far right, increasingly, and it has done for the last 25 years. Yes, violence is a problem if it comes from the far left or from Muslim extremists, Christian extremists, whatever, but the majority is coming from the far right. The last sort of critical threat from the far left probably came from the Weather Underground, and that was a group in the 60s, you know, that planted a lot of bombs went off. They only killed one person, and that was one of their own members who was building a bomb, you know. So they went out of their way not to kill people, but they did target specific sites, military sites and everything, to make their points about the international order as they saw it. But since the 80s, the overwhelming threat has come from the far right. And I'll just put up a graph here that shows that this is the amount of militias that are active in the US. And as you can see, in 2008, there was a huge spike in militias. And you have to think, what was it that happened in 2008 that caused that sudden rush? Oh yes, that's it, the election of a mixed race man as President of the United States. For the first time in US history, a white man didn't become president. And suddenly it's, these people are taking over. Oh my God, the ethnics, they're going to take our power. They're going to put us in cages, whatever. It's the fear of these white Americans, these far right people, that their country was being overrun. And sadly, this is a growing problem in the US that they really need to contend with. So the debates between Biden and Trump start soon. And recent appearances by Biden have given me hope that he's going to do well there. If he's on his game, he should demolish Trump. He's far smarter, and he knows his stuff, whereas Trump just shoots bullshit from the hip, you know. So just got to hope the best, and that Biden brings his A game, because if he does, Trump is in trouble during those debates. So again, this has been quite an uplifting video. I hope I've not depressed anyone too much. Obviously, it's again difficult times we're living through with the increased restrictions in the UK, but we will get through them. Hopefully, just another 6 months, and there'll be a vaccine, and things can get back to some kind of normality. But yeah, until then, take care, everyone. And here's another little musical outro, just to end on a positive note. A bit of funky organ this week. So yeah, take care.